Due to a lack of keyboard right stick settings in the current Multiversus beta, momentum and positioning with your aerials is highly restricted, most notably with down air. The devs confirm they'll be adding more keyboard support eventually, but until that happens, you can use this fix right here, which let me tell you, I set this up last night, it took 5 minutes, complete game changer. Install a keyboard splitter. This one from DJ last night is fantastic. If you've never used GitHub before, you can download directly by clicking on the file in the releases tab. I know it's an external program and that's what stopped me from doing it earlier too, but it's 1000% worth it. I'm one of those people that hates having more tabs or windows or programs than absolutely necessary, and I don't mind this one at all. You can just launch it while waiting for the game to load and you're pretty much set. What we're doing with this is mapping some of your keybinds to a controller C-stick input, which if you don't know, it's kind of like a direction plus attack macro, except it's not spooky like the word macro. If you've ever played Smash and you did an aerial with the right stick, that's all it is. Now we're gonna launch it up and set up your controls, but before you do anything else, set your slots to 1 and uncheck the block keyboards button. I'll get more into that later. Go down to preset and type in whatever custom name you want. This is just your profile. I have Multiversus keyboard splitter as mine, but what you should do is put in your credit card number and send me a screenshot so I can check if you set things up properly. This should create a blank list of mappings that you can now customize to your liking. The default controller bindings are listed in Multiversus controls panel, so you can attach those if you like, but what we're really concerned with is the RX and RY tabs, since those are the X and Y axis movement of your artificial right stick. Make sure you have right stick set to attacks at the bottom of your controller settings in game, and then bind to your heart's content. Axis RX min is a left facing sair, you can think of it as C stick to the left. Axis RX max is a right facing sair. Axis RY min is down air, and Axis RY max is up air. What I recommend when adding these new binds is to gently position your hand comfortably first and then work backwards from there. Otherwise, you might end up trying to twist your hand to accommodate for the additional buttons, which not only makes you play slower, but also puts you on a fast track towards arthritis. For example, I use my left hand entirely for basic movement options with WASD and space, so when creating my layout, what I first did was place standard attack with my index finger on P, dodge on open bracket, and special on close bracket. The reason for this is so I can put the C stick down or down air on backslash, which not only means I don't have to move my hand at all, but it's also a larger button so it's easy for my pinky to hit, both of which I like because I find it's by far the most important C stick button. Up air is on 0, meaning I move my attack finger upward from the default position. I don't use it all too much, but it is good to have. And then finally, we have our left and right sairs, which I put on L and enter. Those fall pretty naturally, and enter is also a big button, so it's easy for my pinky to hit. These are good to have because they let you use momentum in a way that's literally impossible without a C-stick. You can still play entirely how you did before. I mean, I still have that standard attack on P. All this is doing is adding more options for you to use, and it allows you to one button directional attack, which is what a C-stick on a controller would do. I also highly recommend adding a neutral attack and a neutral special button, since those also let you use momentum in a way that you can't with a normal attack button, but these are options enabled by default in the keyboard settings tab, so you don't need a keyboard splitter to try them. I have my nair on semicolon, which I just changed while writing this script, and neutral special on O. You don't have to use my controls at all. In fact, mine are just a bastardization of Pugsy's to fit my hand in default mapping. I'm just putting it out there as an example if you want to build off of it. The truth is, many of you probably shouldn't use mine because of one other key factor. Keyboard ghosting is something to be very aware of. It's a phenomenon where hitting multiple keys at the same time results in one or more of them being dropped or ghosted. Since most keyboards aren't built for more than just simple office typing. Nobody's playing StarCraft at Cutco HQ is all I'm saying. Using this website, you can check if your keyboard has ghosting issues and shift your controls accordingly. Ideally, you want to be able to press everything at the same time, but that might not be possible, so the next best thing is to optimize for the ones you know you're going to be chording. For example, if you've watched my Brawlhalla videos, then you probably know my pickup button is 3/4, and the reason for that is with my old keyboard I had to use comma, period, and / as my light, weapon throw, and heavy buttons, since that was the only row that didn't ghost with WASD and space. It might take some fine tuning, but you should be aware of this, especially as you add more buttons to the equation. With that out of the way though, make sure to save your settings. You should be prompted when you close the program. Also, I think there's a little icon, but I don't remember. I have a headache. Now you're ready to play. All you've got to do is open up Keyboard Splitter and hit start. But before you do that, double check that block keyboards and block mice are unselected. Otherwise, you won't be able to use either of them while the program is running. And if you forget to check, you might be completely frozen and locked out of any control on your computer. But don't worry, if that happens, all you need to do is unplug and replug your keyboard and it'll reset back to normal. What I love about this program is it doesn't restrict your keyboard or make things all weird like remapping buttons to a macro or a chord input would. You're just converting the existing keyboard inputs into a controller for the game to read, meaning you can type like nothing's happening even while it's active. My last piece of advice is to remember to take things one step at a time. The number of buttons can be very overwhelming to just jump in with, so start small and expand as you get accustomed to it. What helped me a lot is starting with only using the neutral attack button and the special buttons, and then after that I focused on down air, and now I've got to get used to the up air and the sair buttons. Again, I only set this up last night, and at first it was completely breaking my brain, but with a couple hours in my belt now, I'm starting to get, a little bit more used to it. The only real way to build up the muscle memory is to do it, to push through the annoying phase of learning how to walk again. You might lose a bunch of times, a bunch of games, but don't worry too much about it. A good chunk of hours and a good night of sleep does wonders, and it'll feel like second nature in no time. Hopefully this video helps. If you want even more details on controls, Boomy made a pretty good comprehensive guide on that. This is just what I did for myself, and I wanted to share it with you all since I imagine many of you, especially from the Brawlhalla community, play Multiversus on keyboard. Okay, bye.